Thank you, Nomad. Namadi, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Passport.
Passport Nomad.
Hey, Passport!
Please subscribe to Passport Nomad.
Subscribe to Passport Nomad on YouTube.
It's been about a year since I started this channel, and I began with a video called Why I'm Leaving America. Ever since I left America and came to the Philippines, my life has improved dramatically. Now, like I said before, I myself am not a passport bro. However, I have traveled extensively in my past. You see, my reasons for traveling differ from passport bros and other people, mostly because I was just sick and tired of living in America, period. As a military veteran with PTSD, I started receiving my benefits and was able to quit my stressful job back in the States. Now, as we all know, the cost of living has become worse over the last decade, all the way up till now. I was always the type that likes to examine any problem in its entirety by looking at the cause of the problem or from outside of the box, so to say, just to find a better solution. I personally wanted to live in a somewhat peaceful, less stressful life environment where I don't have to worry about financial struggle, a means to save up and reinvest, be able to travel, learn new cultures, learn a new language, find peace of mind, and be able to enjoy my life, and instead of working myself to death. In this video, I'm going to up into one of the reasons why I left America, and this focuses on the financial aspect, or a problem many of us are facing back home. It all starts by looking at the bigger picture of why American society is in the financial problems it's in today. Most people think it has to do with the government, but they're only half right. For the truth, we must look at the American dollar and who really controls it. When all is explained, then you will see the ugly truth of it all and why I decided to leave the USA. To begin, I would like to share with you a few video clips to better prove my point. So press pause and grab yourself some popcorn, sit back, relax, and get ready to dive into today's content, which starts right now.
Right now I'm going to just read a quote from Edward Mendell House and what he had to say in a private meeting with Woodrow Wilson, president between 1913 and 1921, from the private papers of Woodrow Wilson. Quote, "Very soon, every American will be required to register their biological property in a national system designed to keep track of the people, and that will operate under the ancient system of pledging. By such methodology, we can compel people to submit to our agenda, which will affect our security as chargeback for our fiat paper currency. Every American will be forced to register or suffer not being able to work and earn a living. They will be our chattel, and we will hold the security interest over them forever by operation of law merchant under the scheme of secured transactions. Americans, by unknowingly or unwittingly delivered the bills of lading to us, will be rendered bankrupt and insolvent, forever to remain economic slaves through taxation secured by their pledges. They will be stripped of their rights and given commercial value, designated to keep us a profit that will be none the wiser. For not one man in a million could ever figure out our plans, and if by accident one or two would figure it out, we have in our arsenal plausible deniability. After all, This is the only logical way to fund government, by floating liens and debt to the registrants in the form of benefits and pledges. This will inevitably reap us huge profits beyond our wildest of expectations and leave every American a contributor to this fraud, which we will call social insurance. Without realizing it, every American will insure us for any loss we may incur, and in this manner, every American will unknowingly be our servant, however begrudgingly. The people will become helpless without any hope for their redemption, and we will employ the high office of the President as our dummy corporation to foment this plot against America. Having established plausible deniability, even if people become enlightened that they had a remedy and pursued it, the attorneys, judges, and legislators could claim that they did not understand the people's claims, especially if the technical requirements for achieving it were not followed pursuant to statutory requirements. Requiring the public schools to teach civics, government, and history classes out of federally approved, politically correct textbooks written by the publishing houses owned by the owners of the Federal Reserve would assure that the people would not discover the remedy for a long time, if ever. I would recommend that everyone read Fruit from a Poisonous Tree by Melvin Stamper, M-E-L-V-I-N, Stamper, S-T-A-M-P-E-R. That is Fruit from a Poisonous Tree. This is out of Chapter 2 of Fruit from a Poisonous Tree.
After Woodrow Wilson had signed the Federal Reserve Act, which gave private interests control over economic power in 1913, he said, "I am a most unhappy man. I've unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is now controlled by its system of credit. Our system of credit is concentrated. The growth of the nation, therefore, and all our activities are in the hands of a few men. We have come to be one of the worst ruled, one of the most completely controlled and dominated governments in the civilized world. No longer a government by free opinion, no longer a government by conviction and the vote of the majority, but a government by the opinion and duress of a small group of dominant men." Jewish bankers and their rabbis actually celebrated the passage of the Federal Reserve Act in 1913. After the Federal Reserve was up and running, Charles August Lindbergh added, "The financial system has been turned over to the Federal Reserve Board. The system is private, conducted for the sole purpose of obtaining the greatest possible profits for the use of other people's money." The Federal Reserve System was neither federal, nor does it contain reserves, and nor is it a part of a decentralized system. The adoption of the debt-based financial system preached by Marx in the Communist Manifesto had been accomplished. The current banking system, fractional reserve banking, enables privately owned banks to create money out of thin air. Money today is simply numbers in a computer system, with only about 3% existing as physical currency.
Mr. Chairman, we have in this country one of the most corrupt institutions the world has ever known. I refer to the Federal Reserve Board and the Federal Reserve Banks, hereinafter called the Fed. The Fed has cheated the government of these United States and the people of the United States out of enough money to pay the nation's debt. This evil institution has impoverished and ruined the people of these United States, has bankrupted itself, and has practically bankrupted our government. It has done this through the defects of the law under which it operates, through the maladministration of that law by the Fed, and through the corrupt practices of the moneyed vultures who control it. Some people think that the Federal Reserve Banks are United States government institutions. They are private monopolies which prey upon the people of these United States for the benefit of themselves and their foreign customers. Foreign and domestic speculators and swindlers, and rich and predatory moneylenders. In that dark crew of financial pirates, there are those who would cut a man's throat to get $1 out of his pocket. There are those who send money into states to buy votes to control our legislatures. There are those who maintain international propaganda for the purpose of deceiving us into granting of new concessions which will permit them to cover up their past misdeeds and set again in motion their gigantic train of crime.
The Federal Reserve runs the country. Have we been wrong to think it was the politicians all along?
At least half wrong, yes. Strange as that seems. Without going into all the esoterica of what the Federal Reserve, the central bank, actually does, in the largest frame, it regulates money and interest rates, and that is one of the most immediate and powerful influences that the government has over the real economy, workers, producers, stores, etc., simply by manipulating the price of money, which inevitably changes the price of almost every other transaction. And it's insulated from the politicians quite deliberately. So yes.
The notes on the book jacket suggest that in some ways the Federal Reserve is, I'm quoting the jacket now, is more secretive than the CIA and more powerful than the President and Congress. Is that really the case?
Sounds grandiose, I know, but I think that's right. I thought about that a long time, and it is like the CIA in many ways in that it's run by a community of experts, technocrats who have skills and knowledge which are not generally available. Its secrecy is even greater than the CIA's in the sense that the CIA at least has to go to the Congress on a fairly regular basis, share its plans with the Congress, albeit in secret meetings of the Intelligence Committee, get an annual appropriation, which is a powerful lever. If Congress doesn't like what the CIA is doing in Nicaragua, it says, "Thou shalt not spend money for this." The Federal Reserve has none of those controls. The Federal Reserve is required to testify regularly before Congress, but it is not required to reveal its secret deliberations or even its real expectations for what's going to happen to the economy. And more importantly, it makes its own budget. It does not submit to the appropriations process that every other agency of government must submit to. And as the Federal Reserve well understands, that's real power and real protection from both presidents and Congress.
Now, with all that was just said, now you can probably see where this was going. Slavery. Yes, I said it. Slavery. Just in a different form. Where they have you think that you're free, but really you're wasting your life making someone else rich to keep you in an ongoing cycle for those who benefit the most off of your blood, sweat, and tears. They are enjoying their lives, while you're kept willfully ignorant. I have personally always wondered why we live in such a monetary system in which you must work the majority of your life making someone else rich. Where you work, your salary isn't enough to cover all your expenses, so now you must work 2 to 3 jobs or have a side hustle just to make ends meet or to have any kind of savings. If you buy a house, you really don't own it because there's this thing called a property tax, and if you don't pay the property tax, they can still take your house away from you. So what's the purpose of owning a home when all you're really doing is paying rent to keep it? And by the time you're ready to retire, all your good years are all gone and you don't live long enough to enjoy your retirement. So I found a way that since, I'm gaining, a certain amount of income every month from serving my military service where I don't have to work like a modern day slave till I'm 65. So I said, you know what? Why not I try this experiment and try to leave this country for a while. Let's see, the American dollar is strong in this country and it's stronger in other countries that the foreigners are coming from. You know how the Americans keep saying, they're complaining, oh, the foreigners, the immigrants are coming in there taking all the jobs away. Well, all they're doing is supporting their families back home with our money. So I considered this. that the American dollar is strong enough to live comfortably in other countries around the world, and all you have to do is save and budget your money effectively. You can do this as long as we have something called remote jobs, or you have something like, say, a disability income, or say you're retiring and everything. You can actually take that retirement or that income and quadruple it in another, economy while you're living there. And then you'll just probably come to the realization, oh wow, I should have did this years ago. Why are people in the United States, stuck here in this mind state that we have to have the best and all this and that, and this is all there is, and we're trapped in this endless cycle of making someone else rich and we get nothing. So long story short, I'm just going to make it simple. I left because I was tired of the government and the politicians and everybody's, to your left or your right, you're a Democrat or Republican, this and that. You know what? I said, I leave all that behind. I'm looking at the bigger picture. And if the government and the people in charge are benefiting the most out of our hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, I'd rather go somewhere else where my money goes a longer way and work and live a life easier than I am here in the USA. So far, it's working out pretty well for me, but it may be different for different people depending on your life. You may have kids or a family to support. You may have to put that into consideration too, but still do your research and find out all you can to make that kind of transition. And, you just got to be willing to go ahead and do it. And this isn't just for yourself. I'm doing this for, my future generations as well. If I have kids, I want them to have an easier life than I had to live. So that's why I left America, or one of the reasons. Well, and with that said, that's all I have today for this segment. I will return with yet another video covering another reason why I left America. There are actually many more reasons which helped me make my decision to leave. Well, with all that said, I'm going to end the video here. As always, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment.